Everybody, thanks for joining us today. It's Tim, just happy as a clam to be with you on our journey through the Bible, one day at a time. Our reading for today was in Amos, chapter 1 to chapter 5. Sometimes I have to remind people that the Bible was not written to seminary professors, but it was written to ordinary people like fishermen and tax collectors. And in this case, it was not written by a scholar, but it was a message given to a farmer about God's coming judgment. We see Amos as a farmer, a shepherd in the southern nation of Judah, and he's called to go to the northern nation of Israel. And he just went, and God used him. It's amazing what God might do with you if you just say, Lord, I'm available for whatever you have in mind. He introduces himself in verse 1 this way, the words of Amos, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. This will be the second Jeroboam, by the way, who had a long reign. He reigned for 41 years. And so did Uzziah, who had a long reign of 52 years. But of course, Uzziah made a foolish mistake. He went into the temple with incense to do the work that only priests were allowed to do, in a place where only priests were allowed to be. And as a result, he was a leper until the day he died. Josephus, the historian, said that when Uzziah went into the temple, there was a massive earthquake in Jerusalem. It's probably the earthquake that's mentioned here. So the setting of Amos is about 760 BC. We know that. It's about the time when a small town appeared on the banks of the Tiber River. They were calling it Rome. It's about 100 years after the ministry of Elijah and Elisha. The nation of Israel had been divided for about 160 years. The kings of the north were all evil. Maybe Ahab was one of the worst, but he introduced idol worship of Baal and Ashtaroth. But now Israel was at the height of its material power and prosperity. They were still idol worshippers, but it seemed like maybe the golden age of Solomon had returned. Happy days are here again. Many Israelites could afford summer and winter homes, and houses were adorned with ivory. The king in 760 was Jeroboam II, but in just 40 years, the northern kingdom of Israel would be no more. It's going to be invaded and sacked and destroyed by the Assyrian nation, and the people will be starved and besieged, impaled, raped, mutilated, taken out of their land, scattered. But before all that happens, as God always does, he warns them with his prophet. It's interesting the way God does it. Did you notice that in your reading? Verse 3, chapter 1. For 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I will not take away the punishment thereof. People are probably saying, those sinners up in Damascus, somebody needs to punish them. And down in verse 6, for 3 transgression of Gaza, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment of Israel. People were thinking, boy, it's about time with those evil people down there in Gaza. And he goes down the list of the nations surrounding Israel, Ashdod and Ashkelon and Ekron. In other words, all the Philistines will perish. Tyrus and Edom and Ammon and Moab. All the people, they were thinking, yeah, about time somebody did something there. But then in chapter 2, verse 4, he said, for 3 transgressions of Judah, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. And maybe some people at that point were thinking, wait a minute, Lord, did you remember those are Jews down there? And then in verse 6, it really hits home. He said, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. It's like God was saying, do you think you're better than these other nations? It's not a bad question to ask ourselves sometimes. Are we better than anybody else? What about us? In Ephesians 5:3, it says, fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints. One of those verses that maybe you think, that doesn't even need to be in the Bible. We expect that from Christians, of course. Those would not be once named among us. But they are named among us, aren't they? Just 2 days ago, another well-known pastor was dismissed by his church because of an improper relationship with a woman. He was an excellent expositor of the word, but as far as I'm concerned, he's preached his last sermon. And no, I'm not any better than he is. And it's because of that there are times when I pray, Lord, please kill me before you would let me do anything like that. Because I know I'm not any better. I know I need God's help every single day. Now, for someone like that, that doesn't mean he can never be forgiven or used by God in any way. I've known people who have done that, but not in the pulpit and not as a pastor. The path back needs to begin with genuine repentance. Spurgeon said that a man in that situation needs to take a seat in the very back of the church and stay there until his repentance is just as notorious as his sin. Not bad advice. You know, the Christian leader who comes back and tells everyone, you can trust me now because I've been to counseling or I've been to rehab, doesn't get it. He needs to understand that people can't trust him. He needs to understand that he can't trust himself, just like the rest of us. And he needs to take steps to order his life based on that understanding, just like the rest of us. Well, think about that today, will you, my friends? It's a serious issue that we need to address in our own lives. Keep reading, my friends. Tomorrow our reading is also in Amos, chapter 6 to 9, and also the book of Obadiah. And so dig into those passages, and I'll look forward to